But first, a Michigan Court of Claims has struck a blow for the state in the fight over whether substantial new cannabis taxes can be levied for road repairs. A new wholesale tax on recreational marijuana is scheduled to take effect January 1st, right at the start of next year, that would add a whopping 24% to prices. Judge Seema Patel decided on Monday in a really widely awaited ruling that a cannabis industry group had a weaker case compared to the state's argument. We wanted to see what a retailer thought of this, so we're turning now to Casey Kornoelje, the owner of Pharmhouse Wellness in Grand Rapids. Hey, Casey, welcome to Stateside.
Hey, April. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, before we talk about the specifics of this legal case, I just wanted to ask you what this year's sales has been like for you, what it's been like for the business overall.
Yeah, sales have been stable. So overall, I think many different retailers across the state that you talk to would indicate that since they opened their businesses, we opened in 2020, that it's been a slow decline, right, over time. A lot of that occurs as additional competition comes into play, and then also as additional supply has come online, as growers are growing more plants and there's more plants in circulation. That's just a boost to supply.
Right. So when state lawmakers and Governor Whitmer came up with this plan to fund some road repairs they've been promising for a long time with a pretty hefty tax on your product, like, what was your reaction when you first heard about the plan?
This most recent drama for us, goes back to September when they were trying to finalize the budget. And I think that myself and a lot of industry practitioners were just caught off guard, right? This was not a conversation that we had with our elected officials. There was a little snippet of this teased earlier in the year, and then it just kind of went away. And everybody was like, oh, that's gone. But then, surprise, surprise, in the 11th hour, the fiscal budget is due on 9/30 or October 1st, whichever it is, that they snuck this in. I think myself and many other folks that you talk to would say they felt kind of blindsided by that. And this is a relatively big industry, and to have a very little amount of discourse with our public elected officials, that's not something that we feel makes a good dialogue, makes a good formula for kind of reaching compromises and trying to improve things. So for me, overall, it was a bit of surprise, some blindsidedness.
Yeah. The argument that an attorney working for the retail industry made is that this just moves the state too far away from what voters thought they were approving in 2018. Whereas attorneys for the state argued to Judge Patel that this is not a regulation of cannabis products, it's a revenue stream. What's your reaction to that?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. So Judge Patel's decision sided with the state in saying that this was a constitutional move. It's okay to enact the 24% wholesale tax, essentially because MRTMA, or the statute that we operate for recreational cannabis, only balances the retail side of the business, and it does not dictate that wholesale side of the business that the 24% wholesale tax is proposed to affect. So getting back to your point, in that way, the wholesale tax is justified to move forward, at least in the eyes of Judge Patel, come January 1st. But in my opinion, and that of the MICIA and the co-plaintiffs who brought this case against the state, we feel that this has altered the original intent of the will of the voters. So you, April, me, mom and dad, our neighbors, we all went to the ballot box back in 2018, and we put yes or no when we wanted to legalize adult use cannabis back in 2018. And we voted on that based on the tax structure that was proposed, and that's a 10% excise tax. We didn't vote on that based on a 10% excise tax plus 24%. We voted on it just on the 10%. That was the will of the voters back in 2018. And for me, that's a very sacred thing, right? When somebody goes to the ballot box and they vote on something, that is the voice of the community and of the state coming out saying, this is what we want. And it feels like it went around that. And as a result, now we have a tax structure that is significantly different than what the will of the voters was imposed. And so we could argue that that change, that driving taxes higher, is going to divert a lot more traffic back underground, back into the black market where cannabis is not taxed and where it's untested and unregulated. And that may not have been the will of the voters.
I see. So the implication is that retailers feel the price jump might push customers back toward the illicit market, which would be cheaper.
You could argue that, absolutely. I mean, if you're a retailer right now, or if you go into a retail store and you purchase $100 worth of cannabis, you have 10% excise tax and 6% sales tax. So out the door, that $100 basket is $116. When you impose an additional 24% on top of that, that $100 basket then becomes a $140 out the door. So you have a significant price increase. That's on top of all the other fees and taxes that retailers pay in general. So when you compare that versus, say, somebody who may cultivate cannabis at their home, they don't have those fees. They don't have the out the door taxes. They don't have testing costs. They don't have regulation. And so that creates a even bigger divide between the regulated and tested industry and those that may be doing this at their home or untested and unregulated, more of a cottage industry.
Casey, what should customers know right now before they walk into a dispensary over the next couple of weeks?
Well, you should know that this is not something that dispensaries or wholesalers asked for. This was something that was decided at the highest levels of our state government. And so, have a little bit of grace for us, for one, just starting there. But you will see price increases come January 1st. You won't necessarily see that on the receipt when you go to purchase a product, but it'll be baked into the price increase of that product itself. Another thing that you need to keep in mind, and this is a very unique situation with Pharmhouse, our retail facility, and this is something not a lot of people are talking about. So I want to let you in on a little bit of a secret here, and that is that medical marijuana. So we are a medical marijuana shop. And we also are an adult use marijuana shop. We cater to both of those clienteles. The medical marijuana component of our business, and this was baked into House Bill 4951, or the wholesale tax proposal, is exempt from that price increase. We always held on to our medical marijuana license over the years. And Pharmhouse is the only medical marijuana shop in all of Grand Rapids. And so to hear this news kind of come full circle around that medical marijuana is exempt from the wholesale tax, that is something that I was looking around the table at our managers and I'm like, you know what we got to do here? We got to give away, we're going to give away medical marijuana cards. So
wait, Casey, is that legal?
Well, that is a question that is only between you and a qualifying physician, right? I'm not a physician. I'm not an attorney. However, there are qualifying conditions, and we are offering these free of charge, no strings attached. So you come on down, we'll hook you up on a telehealth appointment. Again, that's between you and a physician. I have no impact on that. However, if you do qualify for that, you can become a medical marijuana card holder in 10 minutes, and you will not pay 1 penny more come January 1st.
Yeah. Is there, how fast do you think we could see some constriction in the industry? I mean, if customers are not willing to pay a 24% tax, if for whatever reason they decide they're not going to get a medical card or they don't have access to it in some way. What do you see on the horizon with all this?
Absolutely. I mean, the state is forecasting approximately a 17% decline. So if it's a $3 billion industry, you could take, chop 500 million right off the top. That's just an estimate. That's $500 million of revenue that is poof, gone, and so that 500 million is $500 million that was generated from a lot of small businesses, a lot of people that have invested their life savings into these businesses, and also a lot of people's livelihoods that work at those businesses. So it truly, truly is a sad situation.
Casey Kornoelje is the proprietor of Pharmhouse Wellness, that's farm with a PH, in Grand Rapids. Casey, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you, April. Really appreciate you having me on the show. Happy holidays to you.